So, most people evolve over time, and Jensen to some extent has evolved. But I'm really shocked in writing about him when I go back and talk to his friends from like when he was young. They're like, yeah, he's basically the same guy, And not only that, I talked to his friend from when he was 10 years old. And he was like, yeah, I was like, are you surprised that Jensen was so successful? And his friend was like, no, not at all. I always knew he was destined for greatness from almost the first time I met him, which is a crazy thing to say about someone when they're like in 6th grade. But
no, you've got a story about he standing up to bullies. A friend
When he arrived in the United States from Taiwan, he was born in Taiwan, went to Thailand, and then arrived in the United States when he was about 10, and was sent to this boarding school that his family thought was a prestigious kind of preparatory school for college, but turned out to be basically a reform academy for juvenile delinquents, for like criminals, right? I mean, the place is covered in cigarette butts, and a lot of the students were carrying knives. And really, him and his brother were there. They were the only Chinese people around. And this is an entirely white section of Kentucky that's very poor. And they were the targets of just tons of racist abuse. I mean, they were called every racial slur you can think of. People were trying to fight him. People were trying to shove him around. He would cross this bridge to get to the school each day, this swinging rope bridge, and the bullies would get on there and like swing him. But he somehow survived in this environment and actually thrived, and later attributed his time there as being a key to his success later in life. So I think one thing that happened there is that, he's a good student, he gets good grades, he's good on the test, but sometimes people like that struggle in other aspects when there are suddenly no rules, right? And so like business, you can't just do good on the test. It's a knife fight. You really have to win against the bullies. And so I think he internalized how to survive, or learned how to survive in an environment with no rules at all, where you're sort of on your own and you have to make your own way forward. And so Jensen has learned to do that and is very, very good at that as well, in addition to being a brilliant student.
Excellent. And also, despite being a CEO and working his ass off, he does have time for table tennis or ping pong, as it's known. And does he still do that? Because it looks like he's really good at it, is what you write.
Well, he was super good at it, and then he kind of got back into it. But the thing is, when AI came along, he basically dropped everything in his life that wasn't AI and just devoted himself almost monastically full time to just doing AI and really nothing else. So it just kind of absorbed him and consumed him. And that's been true for 10 plus years now, 11, 12 years. I mean, he's just been AI all the time. I think that he feels correctly that this is it, right? I mean, this is the biggest thing to happen in maybe the history of computing. One of the biggest things to happen in the history of science, maybe. Yeah. Arguably the single most important invention of all time if the predictions pan out. So I think he's just so driven to be at the center of it. And again, it's neurosis. He's terrified of missing out on this. FOMO is driving a lot of this. And I think that's true for a lot of technologists today.